Welcome to episode 3 of Coffee with Braz, brought to you by Victorian Responsible Gambling Foundation. Love the game. This week we'll be speaking to Ebony O'Dea. I want you to meet one of my coolest teammates. Now, one thing you might not know about her, she is a world champion. She is a unicyclist, she knows pie, which blows my mind, and there's just so much to know about her. So get ready and watch how cool this kid actually is. Ebs, welcome to Coffee with Braz.
Hello, Brazzy.
How you going?
Very good. I was even happier after I saw your adorable custom Brazzy mugs.
Thank you, I do love them. I'm going to have my own merchandise. I'm going to take it back a bit. We'll just keep with the podcast. But first of all, what's your coffee order?
We've gone decaf latte.
Is that the regular?
Yeah, it's decaf. If they don't have decaf, it's a hot chockey because I'm a child.
Not a child, but you're definitely not a Melbourneite, because when you're a Melbourneite, you have at least 5 different words in your coffee order. So just, decaf, that's pretty good. But why the decaf? Why not normal coffee?
I think caffeine for me is probably more like speed for a normal human. So I have caffeine, even caffeine in tea, and it's sort of we're pinging for hours and not sleep until 3 a.m. So just
do you like the shakes?
Get the jitters. So I had a coffee this morning and I'm still got the shakes. So that was about 5 or 6 hours ago now. So
I cannot wait for tonight's training, because the energy that you bring, if it's like any extra with the coffee, I'm giving you a coffee every game day by the sounds of that. What about chocolate? Like, obviously got caffeine in chocolate.
Yeah, so chocky before like mid-afternoon is good, but it's not a nighttime snack for me if I want to sleep.
Oh, chocolate with a cup of tea at night for me is a must. So I'm sorry that you have to live like that.
I just have to sacrifice the
sleep.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Sometimes it's worth it. Chocky is pretty good.
It is definitely pretty good. Anyway, I want to head right into it because it's one thing that excites me the most. I want to know so much about it. But unicycling. I want to know how you started, why you started, where did it come from? Because I didn't even know it was a sport. For me, a bike has 2 wheels. This unicycle has one. Where did this passion come from?
I think similar to a lot of people that do it, it's because you saw someone else do it and you don't know it's a thing until you see it. But I had a couple of lads in Barossa, which is where I was at school, and they were at school and they come and did a demo at my primary school and they did tricks, and I was like, I've never seen that before. I think I got one for my birthday or Christmas later that year, just intending to learn to ride, and then I learned to ride, and then I wanted to learn tricks, and I learned tricks and just kept going and became obsessed for quite a few years there. So just saw one person do it, oh, that's cool, and then, went from there.
So obviously you're watching them thinking, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Where's the next step? Is it talking to mum and dad, can I get it? How did they feel about it?
Yeah, they were always very on board with our little hobbies and stuff and anything to keep us outdoors and fit and having fun. So I think you get cheap little ones online, and my first one was just a little circus one off eBay. I think they're $50-$60, so it was sort of had it, and I think my brother had actually had one before me, so I'd seen him ride a little bit too, and then upgraded slowly through the years. I think I've had about 5 or maybe 6 of them now, so started small.
Like you talk about the easier ones being at like the earlier price range. The better they get, are they expensive?
Yeah, so the one towards like my last few years of actively riding, I was sponsored by a couple of different companies, and there was one in Germany that got me my current unicycle, which I think we'll see later, but that's cost price would be well over $1,000. Some of those parts are pretty rare and like the last of the kind, but just trying to get parts that are light and strong is the combination you're looking for, and they get pretty expensive pretty quick when you start wanting parts that can handle tricks. So
yeah, you talk about it being like, you said at the start about it being a circus thing. When I heard you first talking about doing unicycling, that's immediately where I thought my mind went to. I'm thinking all I could picture was you on a unicycle on a tightrope. I don't know where that came from, but last night I actually YouTubed you. Yeah. Bit of a stalker over here, Ebs, massive fan. But anyone who hasn't seen Ebs on a unicycle, please go do yourself a favour, jump on YouTube and write her name and unicycling. It was actually mesmerising. To see what you could do. It's nothing like the circus. Yeah. I want to have a go, and I don't want to be terrible, but it was so amazing to watch, and the fact that like, it just shows your personality. You don't give up, because it showed you stack after stack after stack, trying to jump over seats, trying to do grinds down little things, but you just didn't give up, and then you'd land one, and it was like, I felt like I was there. I was getting so excited. But please do yourself a favour and go have a look, because it's amazing. But how do you feel when you're in that moment and you're trying to do this new trick but you're not landing it? What goes through your mind?
It's always going to be frustrating, but I think that's the fun of it, is that the more you're struggling to get a new trick, you know that eventually when you do get it, it's going to be more exhilarating than if you could have just done it. So some tricks, I'd have a new trick that I'd sort of think of in the morning, be like, oh, I should try that, and I landed that down. It's like, oh, cool, I got this new trick. But then there's other tricks where I'll try it for months. I even had a couple that tried for years and had thousands of attempts, and then when you finally do land it, it just like cloud nine for weeks, and you just keep thinking back, and it's just that moment of... So it's sort of, there's a lot of, you spend 95% of your time going, oh, I didn't land it, but that couple of percent when you get it right is absolutely worth it. Just love it.
Rush of adrenaline.
I actually don't mind the stacks either. It's a big stack. It's almost as exciting as landing it sometimes. So.
You know what, I reckon I was watching it and I'm like, that would look awesome in slow-mo. Like, but it's really cool. And have you had any injuries? Because the stacks
not really.
You were the way you were able to still hold on to the unicycle and like hit the ground. I was,
you get pretty good at falling. It's just like... You just got to accept that you're going to fall, and then it tend to roll out pretty well. But that was a bit of a bonus coming into footy, is, I get to land on grass instead of concrete. It was a blessing.
Nice. One thing that I did realise, and like, I love skateboarding, so obviously your hands aren't ever really on the skateboard, but one thing I noticed that when you were doing your tricks, you were able to hold onto the seat and like launch yourself from that. Is that like when you are doing all your tricks, do you have to hold on to it? Yeah,
basically. So there's actually a handle on your seat. We'll get it out later and I'll show you it. But I've actually got quite small hands, so I had to grip it a bit differently to some people. But yeah, that's sort of where all your tricks and all your power comes from. You've really got to pull up on the seat. So the seat is your seat and your handle that you use for most of your tricks there.
Yeah, I love that. And now, novice, oh, I can do this. Like for me, I pretend I can skate and surf, but I really can't. It's just me trying to be cool. This is something that you can do, and you're not just someone that, does it on the street. You're a world champion, world record holder for the longest jump and the highest jump.
Just
highest
the longest.
Jump in Australia?
Highest jump in Australia. I got a few for Australia, but just the longest. The platform jump for the world one.
And is that for males and females?
No, that's just the girls. The men, some of them are just in a league of their own for that.
Yeah.
For that
so
one.
How far is your longest jump?
2.5 metres. So there's two types of long jump, which is the first one's just on ground, which is normally that's dominated by riders with bigger wheels, faster you can ride. The one I did is platform, so it's between a gap between two platforms. So you've got to clear the gap.
Is
so
that
that's
like
more
2 seats kind of thing, like a?
It was actually 2 sets of pallets that you're jumping between, so it's, I don't know, maybe less than half a metre high, so it's not a huge stack in between, but it's just a different type of jump to the rolling fast long jump.
And do you get the like the run up to jump, or you stand still?
There's 2 ways you can do it. So I think the reason my long jump that way was the record jump is I did mine on the run and everyone else did their side jump because side hop, when you go in between platforms, you don't deck it as hard, whereas the rolling hop, I was on board with decking it, so I just went for that. And
you just have to watch
there are a few stacks. There's a few video clips of those stacks from the unsuccessful attempts at that world record there as well.
Well, it obviously paid off though to get the record.
Yeah. So you get 12 attempts, so at different lengths. So I think I landed about 4 attempts in total at different lengths. And had about eight stacks. Yeah.
So is it like, for the people that don't understand unicycling, is it like long jump, like what you'd see at the Olympics?
So that's the of the 2 styles. The other one that's more just on flat ground, no sand at the end. It's just lines on the ground. So it's like kind of like they do that clay strip, so they can see if you've hit it. Yeah. But this one is obviously you either make it or you don't. You either fall in the gap or you make it onto the platform. So that's a bit easier to tell. A bit different to Olympic jump.
Yeah, okay, 100%. And like right now we know that your unicycle is in the boot of your car. And the reason that is, and this is one reason I do love you, is that you're a rule follower and you don't want the coaches to see. You've been pretty nervous to bring it in because is it in your contract that you can't do it?
I don't know if it's explicitly written, but it is an extreme sport, which I think is explicitly written.
That's definitely written in there.
We can't do that. So
we can just tell them it's not an extreme sport, and we would definitely.
Technically, we're actually classed as pedestrians because it's not a free spin wheel. So I'll just say I was just being a pedestrian.
Love it. I love that. I feel like we're going to break rules today, and I feel like you're going to be having a fit just thinking about that.
I'm so stressed.
I might get Steve to come out and have a watch as well.
I think he might have seen me ride before.
I reckon he'll love it, and I reckon the girls will love it. And the fact that you can do that just blows my mind. Moving on to a different topic, your family. So something I've just learned about you is that you're a twin. Mm-hmm. Are you and your twin similar? Does she ride a unicycle?
She can actually ride it, yeah. So all three of us kids can actually ride. My brother was first to learn. He learnt basic tricks as well, and then it just sort of fizzled out. Taught my sister to ride as well, so we're actually identical twins, but she's like, we're mirror twins, so she's left-handed, I'm right-handed, and she's very creative, and she's a top pastry chef and is into her pottery and art, whereas I was always maths, science, sport, so we're very different.
Actually a
but
thing, like a mirror twin, that's a real thing.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how much of the whole, I don't know what's really true about the left brain, right brain creative, maths and science and that, but like she's left-handed, I'm right-handed. When we were little, if I lost one of my front left teeth, she'd lose her front right tooth at the same time, like within a week. I think we lost all of our teeth mirror within a week, so yeah, mirror twins. But we're as different as you can get for identical twins, I think, it's fair to say.
Personality-wise.
Yeah, but we get along well. Yeah, we are, yeah.
And she's still in Adelaide?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Adelaide's where you grew up?
Yeah, Barossa, near Barossa is where I grew up. So that's about an hour or so out of, a bit more than an hour out of Adelaide. But we moved to the city sort of once we were 18, started playing footy, and George was working in the city, so.
Yeah. And are your family into sport?
No, it doesn't really run in the family. Not really at all. We played sort of junior sport when we were young, all of us kids, but it was, there's no history of elite sport in the family, that's for sure.
So why footy?
Oh, it's just so fun. I didn't really even follow footy when I was little, but I got out to my first training a few years ago and just fell in love with it. Like, it was just having a big team and that full contact sport was just a dream. So
you say full contact sport.
I love it.
If I come up and give you a hug, you run away, you run so fast, it's like you do not like contact at all.
I know. Rona's been great. No hugs. So.
The only person in the world that loves coronavirus because she can't be touched. 1.5 metres definitely suits you, but I still try and come and give you a hug whenever I can. So you said you rocked up, you had your first session and you loved it because, you know, how we all love footy and being around a group, but what made you go to a tryout or go to a training session? Where did that...
I was starting uni and I sort of had this little, like a scholarship type thing, and it said all inclusive, and I was like, cool, it must include sport. So I looked at all the Adelaide uni sports, and then I was looking at the list and there was women's footy. I was like, that's so cool. And then I found out it didn't include sport, so I had to pay for it anyway. But so worth it. It made me look at the sports and go, there's women's footy. That's not a thing in Barossa. It is now, but it wasn't at the time. And just sort of thought, I'll have a crack, and yeah, bloody loved it.
Oh, so good. And you got drafted with the Giants.
Yeah.
You were there for a year and you didn't play any games.
Yeah.
Was that tough?
Yeah, it was pretty rough to be sort of the only one on the list to not get games, especially end of the season was we knew we couldn't make finals, and the last couple of games was the results didn't matter, and the coach had sort of said things that like it was not going to be who's going to win the games, he's going to give games to players that sort of deserved it.
Yeah.
And to be the one person that just couldn't crack in and never got a game was like real soul crushing at the time.
Yeah.
But then just having the off season just to work and couldn't play because I'd had to have like a little shoulder up in that off season, but just to have that time to go, no, I freaking love footy.
Yeah,
like this is what I want to do, and then to have had that let down to then get the next opportunity, it just made it like mean so much more. So it was worth it in that sense. But it was tough at the time to have that.
You know what? That's what I think makes athletes. Like, that's what makes the best athletes, because there's not many athletes that have made it to the top without any setbacks. Like, you've got to find, like, have those days where you just like, this is a joke. Yeah. Like, what else can I do? Yeah. Just so you appreciate it that bit more. And you can tell, Ebbs, because when you're out on the field, you give everything. There's nothing you leave off the field. So, yeah, that's amazing. So when you got told you were delisted, was that a shock or...?
Not really. I'd had that sort of bit of time where it was like, look, if I'm the only player who's not been picked for a game in the whole squad, I'm probably not going to be one of the players that's near the top of their wanting to keep list. But yeah, to be told that like you're being delisted is pretty disheartening. But it wasn't, originally it wasn't you're being delisted and we're not looking at you. But then once I found out that I wasn't going to get to play VFL or in that winter season block, and then it was, okay, we're not looking at you. I think that was when I was sort of most, okay, this could be over. Yeah. So it was, Yeah,
so you put your name back into the draft?
I did, yeah. Obviously had to nominate to Melbourne, but I didn't think I was getting drafted. I'd actually nominated to, I'd been in contact with every club and I sent my stuff out and hardly heard anything back. And then Steve got this gig and Steve had coached me in Adelaide. So I've known Steve for about 5 years now, since I basically started playing footy. And that they were interested, but I sort of hadn't heard anything for a little while. I was like, I feel like maybe Steve would have told me more if they were really looking at me. So I'd almost planned life back in Adelaide, was trying to get my old job back, was figuring out where I was going to live. So on draft day, it was a very nervous day, and like it was just, I didn't think it was going to happen, and then it did, and it was just...
So where were you draft day? Were you watching it?
Yeah, I watched it just... on telly at home by myself. I was just like, I didn't think I was going to get picked, so I just wanted to like,
and
just
how
me and my dog.
Like, was it like, were you nervous? Were you anxious? Were you all like scared? Like, well,
yeah, I think scared is probably like most accurate, because I didn't think I was going to get picked. I was sort of, originally I was 50-50 thinking maybe I will, maybe I won't. And then as the draft went on and the picks were getting later, even though Collingwood's picks were really late, it just was going in my head like my name's not gonna get read out. And the longer it went on, the more I was just, this is not...
Please, someone to say my name.
Yeah, the longer and longer, but... I was just there with my dog, so it was just holiday. I remember when I did get read out, I just cried. I think I actually got a text about 3 seconds before, because of the delay, from Berg saying congrats on like being drafted, and then I was watching the screen and then they said it and I just cried and called my mum. So called my mum, called my dad. So
yeah, and you called your mum and your dad. Have they been to any of the games?
Yeah, they came to my first game. So they also came up to Brisbane to watch the Brizzy game last year when they weren't allowed to actually come in the end. So
were they out the fence, just trying to keep
it? My dad's family's up there, so they did still get to do some good things on the trip. But yeah, they came to my first game, which was really, really cool to play against Carlton, and they were in the rooms and everything. So that was awesome, because they'd come the week before. Obviously didn't get picked for round one, so I watched the game with them, and then they came back the next weekend. So that was pretty cool.
During COVID lockdown 1, a few of us were able to train together a couple of times, and you were in one of the groups with the Shani, Jamie Lambert, Spesh, and I came to one of those sessions, and you got to hold Louis, the first time you ever held a baby. I could see you were very nervous, but it was really, like, I loved that time with you, because we actually got to sit down and have a chat and get to know each other that bit more. We've roomed with each other in on our camp. And one thing that you said to me, which made me feel really special to be a part of this team and to be a team member of yours, that you've never felt like you've belonged in a team before like you have here. Can you explain that to me?
Like, I've had a great time with my previous footy teams. I've played local for Adelaide Uni and loved it, and same with Norwood, loved it. At Giants, I just didn't really gel. Like, I felt like even towards the end of the season, I could have left, and I felt like there would have been people that, like, a lot of people wouldn't have even noticed. And I felt like here, even within the first season, before we even got to the games, I was just like, these are my people. I made friends. I was like, I was being invited to people's houses and things, and I just felt like I was really part of it. And it's just continued this season. It's just like, I feel so at home, like, and just can absolutely be me all the time. It's fantastic. So,
and that's like, you can be you. Like, that's what I love about you. Like, you are who you are, and you own it. And like, that's, I hope Louis turns out to be like you, Ebs. He gets who he is and can be just so true to himself, because to see how you are with the girls, like, you're, in my opinion, like, you're the heart of this team, because you drive that everyone's accepted, and it's very rare to be in a team sport where, like, there's 30 of us, we're all so different, but when we're together, we're one, and I think you drive that. So thank you for doing that. Like, you're amazing. You did mention that you had a dog who watched the draft with you, Eggplant, also known as Eggy.
Yeah.
And so I did a little bit of a stalk on your Instagram. Now, if just looking at it, you could instantly tell you're a dog lover. Yeah. You're an AFLW player. And literally, that's all you can tell.
Yep.
So, but the dog features heavily. How did you get Eggplant?
So there's greyhound rescue programs sort of in every state, and there's GAP, the greyhound adoption program. There is one in Victoria, but he's from South Australia because I got him before I moved a couple of years ago. But I used to meter read, so just walk around all day, people's houses, properties and that sort of thing, and I'd meet lots of dogs, and I'd always wanted to adopt a dog. And then I'd met greyhounds when I was out metering and just loved the personality of them. So it's like the perfect, I get to adopt and pick the breed and sort of know what the dog's going to be like. So got him from Gap a couple of years ago, and I just love him. I'll have greyhounds for life because of him. He's my child.
So what's their personality? Because, like, really, they're an athlete. They're trained like us, if not harder.
Yeah.
And I guess with us, we still have, like, that outside life. You know, I go home to my family, you go home to Eggy. But for them, it's like train.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what's bred into them. How do they switch into, like, that into being a pet?
Yeah, it takes a while, and I've had him for over 2 years now, and I'd say for at least the first year and a half, it felt like his personality was still coming out. At first, he was just like a little shell. Like, there were so many things he hadn't seen before, like couldn't really do stairs. Any food that he saw, he didn't understand when it wasn't his. So he'd try and steal food off my plate, not even realising that he wasn't supposed to. Like, he didn't even think he's being naughty. He was just like, oh, there's food, so I'll eat it. Kind of the real basic pet things that they don't have. So it takes a long time to adjust them, especially he was already nearly 5. But when they do, their personality does come out. They're obviously all unique, but they're all generally quite placid and quite regal, sort of there. You can kind of tell just by looking at them that they're going to be like that, but they actually sleep just about all day. So of all dog breeds, greyhounds sleep the most. So there's that. Yeah, they're just he's an absolute dream dog, but they're just so chill.
Like the rehab though is up to you. So when you get them, it's not like they've been rehabbed.
So he actually was. So you can foster or adopt. I put down for both, but they contact me and said we've got one ready to adopt. He's already been fostered. So he'd spent 6 weeks with a foster mum. Her name was Donna, and she's absolutely lovely, by the way.
And is that something she does permanently?
No, so it's the first one she'd ever done. And I know she had a real soft spot for Eggy because then about a year or so later, she went and adopted a greyhound instead of fostering, which his name's Arturo, and he's very cute.
Is that their race name?
Nah, so they get changed, but they don't know their race name. So that was another thing, is they don't understand the concept of having a name. Yeah. They've never been called anything, so it took him so long to figure out that there's this word that means him. So that was another little pet thing.
You say that he's like your child. Like, literally, that is like having a child.
Yeah. So you got to teach him the basics. He was toilet trained, though, which is an absolute blessing. Yeah. So.
And what about, like, their mouth guard thing?
Yeah.
Because is in his mind, if he sees, like, a little fluffy dog, will he think that's a rabbit?
Yeah, so he's not too bad, but just legally he's supposed to, because his green collar, which is like a temperament assessment thing, is for South Australia. So to not wear it, he has to have a Vic one. I normally just have it with me, just in case there's other dogs, but his main thing is he doesn't like getting jumped on, but they've all got different sort of personalities where some of them really don't need to wear it, others do, but there's that little prey drive instinct of he might have been trained with live bait or rabbits or something, and he had a bunch of different owners, so you never really know. But he's lived with other dogs. We lived with my parents' dog. He's a little fluffy thing for a couple of months during COVID, and so he's pretty good. But I just like to just have it, like, just in case one day his instinct does overtake, because it doesn't happen until it happens. So there's all sorts of greyhound laws, like he's never allowed off leash. So it's a bit different to a normal dog, but worth it.
Are you a dog lover or a
Absolutely.
greyhound?
I'm a dog lover. I'm just an animal lover in general.
I was going to say, would you ever
Mostly
get a cat, or it's just like, no, you're just dogs?
I'm just dogs. I don't dislike cats, but I just love dogs.
I love that. Going back to footy, when you were told you were playing your first game, really in the AFLW, which was lucky enough to be in the black and white.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
Again, like draft day, I cried. Common theme here. I just get so excited and just so happy.
And Steve was the one to tell you?
Yeah, so it was...
someone that coached you back in Adelaide?
Yeah, so he's coached me all the way through. He taught me to kick, basically. So that was a pretty special moment. It was just a phone call on a Thursday, but I was so used to my Thursday phone calls being, look, you've just missed out, or your emergency, or your second emergency, or... So then when it was a phone call telling me, it was just made it such a surprise, and then I thought getting the phone call must mean, it's still not this week, but it was. So
yeah. And how did you feel running out? I can only compare it, when I had my first netball game, for the first 3 minutes I couldn't breathe because I was just so excited. Did you have anything like that?
Oh, no, it just felt like a normal game once I was out there. I was just like, cool, I just get to play footy. Yeah, it was just like, I've just been waiting for this moment for years now, and then it just felt like, yep, just playing footy, just try and do what I know. So, yeah.
And you swing from the back line to the mids. Wouldn't surprise me if we see you in the forward line. You can play absolutely anywhere. Do you have a favourite position?
I still can't really pick between back and mid. Probably mid, just because, a bit more, I feel like I can take more risk in the mid, but we do get to take risks in the back line too, so it's sort of a bit of...
What do you mean by risk?
I love going head over the ball. I love just crashing the pack.
See, I don't call that risk, I just call that crazy.
It's the funnest thing in footy, Brazill.
A midfielder. Because I will stay away from that. You can do that any day of the week.
Love contested footy. It's the best kind of footy.
Yeah, you're crazy. And you're one of our jet fittest players in the team. I'm excited to see you run a 2K against Rowie. Because I feel like you're just going to knock her out this time.
I reckon Rowie's going to have the edge still. So I'll catch you one day. One day.
I don't think so. I do not think so. You've talked to me about working at go-karts before, and I think it sounds really exciting and fun because in my mind you get to ride a go-kart every day, but you've said that you have to, in a week you're running 100 kilometres because you have to run the track to pick up different things. Yeah. Is that why you're so fit?
I don't think that actually really helps with fitness. It tends to be kind of useless running because there's a lot of shuttles and it is a lot of walking as well. So it's not 100 Ks of just running, and that's footy plus work. So it's probably 40 K at footy and then 60 to 80 K work depending on the hours. But I don't think that really probably contributes. It just tends to be you run just enough to be okay, and then you have to stop. And then you got to walk somewhere, and then you got to do another run. So I don't know if that really helps. It was a lot of off-season program running.
Yeah. Well, I would claim the go-kart as running if I could, but you being our elite athlete,
I'll start tracking it.
Yeah, I would. I'd be putting it in AMS and making sure everyone knows what I'm doing. But you, from Giants to Collingwood, when you first came, you said you changed a lot. Your mental side about running was a big thing. Was that something because you've gone from not playing and then wanting to really play? Did you think that your fitness was a weakness at that point?
It definitely was. So when I started at Giants and we did our 2K time trial, which was on my 20th birthday, so it was just over 2 years ago, I ran over 9 minutes. I ran 9:02, which is
Still not a bad time.
It's not a terrible time, but it put me in the bottom running group. And I was sort of thinking fitness is a controllable, a real, if I practice it, I will definitely get better. Whereas there's other things that I was I practice it and really struggle to get better, but I was I know this is something that I can just work on and will get better. And so it just felt and then having that off season where I couldn't play, couldn't do heaps of skills, I could run, so that was a weakness that I could easily improve. So it was I knew I had other things I need to work on, but it was just something that I know that it was just more of a mental, just do it and get better at it, and that's probably the biggest step forward I made in my career would be just getting fit, and then it improves your skills because all of a sudden I was getting to training and could train and not be under fatigue the whole time. So it was just...
And did you just run, or was like a running program in place?
I didn't really have a running program because I was delisted, so it was basically just I was trying to keep it interesting and had lots of bike and lots of running sessions that I would just make up and do what I felt like doing, some long runs and just try and change up the location to make it interesting. But no, it was sort of freestyle, didn't really know what I was doing, I hope for the best. So,
well, it definitely paid
last off season we had programs, so that was
and how did
handy.
you feel like we had a program this year? Was it better or worse having a program in place because it was so structured? Are you someone that's structured, or do you just like...
No, I like the structure. So I didn't necessarily stick to the program. I sort of based what I was doing off of it and maybe added some bits or put in an extra session here or there. But I liked having that base to look at and give me ideas. But I was just so much more motivated this off-season knowing that I've got a contract to walk back to. Like, I'm already signed. It was like I know I'm doing this to then go and have another season. So it was just sort of such a different off-season that it's hard to compare that to my last one for me. It's a bit, yeah.
And so how long are we talking for? Like, how long would you run for?
They really varied. I think my shortest sessions were like anything speed was anywhere from sort of 5 to 7, and my longest ones were 12 to, I think the longest one was like 17, which was a bit longer than I thought. I just miscalculated that. I wanted it to be about 12.
So if you're running at like 12 to 17 Ks, are you thinking, like, this is where I struggle, because my brain just goes like 100 miles an hour. Like, I'm such a speed power athlete. Anything long distance, no thank you. I'll do it, but I just don't like it. It's a massive mental game for me. When you're running, are you switching off, or are you like, oh, I'm going to do this today? Like, or are you singing a song in your head? Like, that's a long way.
Yeah, they were all interval stuff.
So,
well, where I was running our parents' place, I don't think I'd see a house the whole time, but there's lots of animals, lots of farms, so it's like a really nice place to sort of be out and outside and running and that. But they were all interval sessions, so I think I was running at a high enough intensity. I was just trying to not die, like, for most of the session. So that's kind of all that was going through my head was, all right, 30 more seconds, and then you get a minute. So they seem to go quicker than... I sort of look at my watch afterwards and go, wow, that was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But at the time, it's just sort of little blocks, and I don't even know what I think about, to be honest. Now that you've asked, I'll...
You must switch on, must be a happy place. Like...
Elevating music.
Yeah. No, there's actually no music, but in your head there is. Random question, and this blows my mind. How do you play with your hair out? If there is hair touching my neck while I'm playing, I am like so irritable.
You don't want to see photos of my first season then. I had significantly more hair and still wore it down, and it was just everywhere. So I think just this is comparatively a lot less to what it was. It doesn't bother me.
So just don't tie it up?
Yeah, I did... like for a couple of years
you're
there.
You're rocking the headband.
I'm still not convinced. I still don't know if I like it or not, but I've really committed to it. So
it's good in photos.
No, I think I did play for a couple of seasons with my hair tied up, but that was another thing with like the shoulder up is you need two hands to tie your hair up. So I was just like, well, I can't reach it back for 6 months, so cut it off. Yeah. It's just stayed short.
As you do. And does your sister have short hair?
No, she's got long hair, so that's another good way to tell us apart. Yeah.
Perfect. Last question. What makes you want to be a better footballer? What's your drive?
I just love playing footy. So I'm just like, I just always have wanted to just be better. But like now that I'm here, it's just like I just want to be able to consistently try and play games. Like I just want to be good enough to earn my spot and to be a real contributor in the team. So it's just, I just want to always keep getting better just to like play and just play well.
Well, I think you're doing it, Ebs. You're a player that I would definitely want on the field because you take out whoever you are playing against. And that's why I love having you on the field. I know you've got my back, and I know if the ball is on the ground, if you're not there first, you will definitely be there second, just as hard. So thank you so much for being on the show today. You're unbelievable, and I'm so excited to see what next year brings.
Thanks for having me, Braz. It was fun.
Anytime, let's go get that unicycle.
I'm going to be so out of practice, though. It's been a while.